Hi, welcome back to another lesson. In our last lesson, we looked at some of the React functionalities on how to create React application and the flow and structure of React, where we talk about what is inside the public folder, the SRC folder, and their respective files, also the node models. Now, this time around, we are going to look at how can we change the content of our application. If we look at it, what we have on the screen now, we have this edit source app.js and save to reload, and then we have the learn React link. So for us to edit this, we can see that all these are coming from the app.js file. So for us to be able to change this, we're going to be editing it. You can see that it has the HTML which we can use to edit the file. Here, this is the edit. It's inside the paragraph. I'm going to delete that. Then we have an anchor tag A, which is the one that handles the link. But because we are not linking to anywhere now, I want to take off the link. So I'm going to take it out and let only be the paragraph. Then I'm going to type right here, welcome to my app. Okay, then I save. Then the server will reload itself and change the content. We can see, yeah, that is it. Now that is for changing the content. Now if we now want to go further, we can see that everything is styled. If you go ahead and inspect the page, you will see that it has styles, and that styles, you can see app header is coming from app.css, and also we have some other ones that are coming from index.css, which are the two files we can see here, the index.css and the app.css. They already made classes created that are already styling the page. If you want to change any of this, we can come here and edit the styles. But the fact that we are not doing that, I am going to take out the reference to all these CSS or probably delete them. So I'll go to my app.js. This is it, where we import the app.css file. So I'm going to take it off. Even the logo, we are no more using it. I take off that as well. Then if I should go to my page, you see that everything is gone now. You can see there is no more styling right there. All right, now that is that on how to do that. Then if I now want to probably do some things, let's say I want to create components. React apps are made out of components, and a component is just a piece of a user interface, or let me say a page on your application, or maybe part of the page of your application. In fact, a React component can be as small as a button or as large as an entire page of an application. So depending on how you want to structure your content. Taking for instance, if I want to have after this welcome to my app, I want to have a button that will say click me, or I'm a button or something. I can just go ahead and create a file right here by right clicking on the source in file. So I can just call this let me say button dot. Whenever you are creating a React component, yes, because we refer to each function or file as a component. So if you are creating a component, you could use an extension of GSS, or you can as well use .js. So now we have a button. Then what is left for me is just to create a function. I will say function. So function button. Let me call it my button so that it won't look like Okay, yes, we can make it the same name as the file, it doesn't matter. Function button, then a function we have parentheses, then we'll put the curly braces. So now inside the function, as a React application is going to return, so your return is going to return a GSS, so make sure you terminate that as well, and then inside this is where you put your JavaScript. So now I'm going to create a button, an HTML button, and then close that. Then my button will just have maybe click me like this. Now once I have this, then I can go ahead, as you can see, if we check now, nothing is happening yet. But if I should go on now into my app.js, remember it is through app.js that we send things to the index.js. So I can come here and say, okay, import, let me say from button. Button is the name of the file, is the name of the function. That's not it. We'll say import button, the function, from where? Put our quotes from dot slash, then we'll see our button.js. You can see that button. So what are we doing here is that we are saying, okay, import function button from a file called button, but the button is button.js or button.jss. But because we are in a React environment, we don't need to specify the extension. So now I will now come right here and call the button like an HTML. Call it right here. Then by now I should have, okay, I think, oh, I need to export defaults. Yes, whenever you want to reference a file, a component inside another component, that component has to be exported. You have to export it. Here I need to say, I can either do it this way by saying export default, then button. That's it. I can say this. You can see it's working fine now. Okay. We have an error here. Okay. Alright. Everything is fine now. You can see I have to just refresh for the error to go, this happens because I have an autosave checked. So that is why it was returning an error before. You can see I've not changed anything. Now I have my function, I export it. This is one method. But if you don't want to export separately, you can as well just come here, cut this, put the export default at the beginning of the function declaration, just like this, and yet you will still get the same results. You can see nothing breaks. We still have a button right here, and button is a component on its own. Just like I said, that a component could be just a piece of UI. It's a piece of UI of your user interface, and it could be small as a button like this. It could be small as a div, a section, the header, the footer, the content of your application, or it could just be the entire application page. All right, so now that we have this, then let us move on to how can we now apply styles to our application. How can we apply styles to our application? Taking for instance, if I want this button to have some colors or some CSS styles, I can do it in different ways. I can use the inline style of CSS, as we know, by coming right here and say style, you can see that. Now in React, you don't put style is equal to and then the quotes and then you put the React inside the styling inside the code. No, you have to do this curly braces, and then because I want to do an inline style, I will also create another curly braces and then I will now put my styling. So how do I do that? Taking for instance, if I want to do background color, for instance, you do that with the first letter, the first word will be small, and then you capitalize the first letter of the second word. Background color, colon, and then you put the color of the background as you want it. But this time I want blue. Then if I do this, let me check, I have it. That is blue. So this is inline style. If I can as well add some other stylings to it by adding some other inline styles. But that's not what I want to do this time around. I want to have some other things. Let us look at another way of styling our application. We can come up here and create a style for our application. We can just say style is equal to, then we do this. So I can bring in this background color and just remove this and put the background color right here. I may need to be using probably maybe classes or ID. So I can say this is a class, say dot pg color pgcl, and then it will have this, and then I put my background inside. Then okay, we can use we want to use external styles by using a JavaScript object. So I'm creating a style right here. It could be inside the function before I do a return. So let's do that. Let's do it that way. Let me put it right here inside the function before a return. So I'll just create it as a variable constant. Let me call it style. Content style is equal to, and the curly braces. Then right here I'm going to terminate that, though it's not necessary, but yet you can do that. Then we start creating our CSS attributes and values. So I can say color, that's the color of the text. So I can say that is red in quotes. Remember, it has to be in quotes. Then because we are creating as an object, we put comma there. Then another one, background color, as we did last time. Background color, I told you that it's going to be in capital for the second word. So here I can say it is blue. Then on and on like that. Now, how do I now apply that? I will come here and say style is equal to what? Style. But though it may not be a good practice that you are giving it the same name, you can give this another name. But let's see what we have now with our body. Okay, so we have the color applied, but we're not sure if the color we have given this red. How come? Maybe let me use white. Maybe the color is okay. So that's it. It has taken effect. I have to refresh that. Then we have our styling. That's how we do CSS. And if we like, we can have our CSS declared in another file, just like the one we have ready here, and we can see how it is being applied. You can see they created a class app header, they put all these CSS. If you are creating your CSS separately, that is not a React based CSS, then it is going to be a normal CSS that you have normally create in your CSS files, and then you just come right here. Let me say, for instance, I can do the same thing within the if I should say within the components, but let's use another one here. If I should say, okay, I'm creating a class that I will style a button, so I can just say dot b c g l, then I open the bracket and close, and then I can just copy what I have here so that I don't have to repeat myself. But they are not that the same, but yet I'll convert it to what JavaScript recognize. So now color is still color here, so this one is not going to be comma. Then blue, this is not going to be background color like this, it's going to be background hyphen color for a normal CSS. And you can use any of these, so you have to terminate this here. You know, that's the rule in CSS, and that's exactly what is happening now. Okay, so BCGL here. So if I should come right here and remove this style here, this will go and the button is no more styled. Then if I now come back here and say, okay, inside this, to say just like the way the CSS was imported here last time, if you look at this here, you can see they just imported the file directly. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We just say import, then code dot slash, then I'm looking for app.css. Let me just call that app.css. Probably you should be able to access that. This is it here. Okay, so now if we do this, we have, you can see that we have, okay, is applying other things into the application, because you know right here, let me see, oh, we reference the header, the app, okay, inside, you know, this header has brought, this button has brought these ones into this place. Okay, now we can see what I'm just trying to do is that we have to bring in the class here. We'll say here class. How do we use class in React? You can't just say class, because class is a keyword, different from the way we do it in normal CSS. Class is a keyword in React, because rather than using functional component as we are using this, we can use class. But that is old to me. So you have to make use of the new method. So now here we're now going and call the we are now going to call the class inside the button. So class bcgl, then our button should have changed by now. We need to refresh, just like I explained the other time. Okay, I think we're still having a challenge here. Let me see. Do I need to do anything? Background color. Oh, I don't think we need to code our color as we do here. This is a React way of creating things. Let's see. Yeah, that is it. So we should have it working by now. All right, that's fine. That is the three methods of creating styling our application. All right, so let me go back and remove the imports of the CSS. Now, another method that we are going to look at is how can we display components. But before we do that, before we start to display components, I want us to look at how do we import Bootstrap into our application. So that will make us to we will convert this application to something like a portfolio application. All right, so in that case, I'm going to go ahead and import Bootstrap into our application, and there are different ways of doing this. React has a React Bootstrap that you can use as a package. React Bootstrap. If you go to React Bootstrap, there is this is it. You can see from npm. If you go here, you will see how you are going to import it into your application and make use of it. Now, this is how to install it. npm I stands for install React Bootstrap. So if you copy this and run it in your terminal, it's going to install React for you. But I am not doing that. I want to use React directly because I want to make sure that I make this application as simple as much as possible. And if you want to read through the documentation of this, you can see that we have the documentation right. If you read their documentation here, you're going to see, you can see, click here to explore some React Bootstrap code sandbox examples. Here they will show you some of the things and how to use the application. I'm going to be showing you how you can use it to create some components and all that. And even if you don't want to make use of their own tutorial, you can go back to the first one we saw on when we search for React Bootstrap. I can see one from Netlify. It's showing us introduction, getting started, how you create nav bars, cards, and all that. So I think if you go to introduction, getting started, introduction, you'll see how you will install it if you are going to be installing a particular version. This one is referencing Bootstrap 4.6. And when you get there, you'll see how to import components. This is for a button. If you want to have a React styled button, that you'll be having all these button primary and all those kind of buttons that you need. So examples are here, how you are going to do the referencing, and you can go through the documentation right here. You can see the components, you can see layout, just exactly as we have on our normal Bootstrap documentation, where you see this is different alerts, and then you see the code down here, how you are going to make use of it to create an alert. And then you can go down, you see this is a button. You can see you have primary button, and how do you create it? This is how you create it. your primary button. But remember, they have shown you how you are going to install it at the beginning. How you install it is this, and then you reference it inside your component. If you are using button, you import the button, or you import it this way. And you can import multiple at a time. You can import button, comma, card, comma, and alert, and some other things like that. Alright, so that is that about that method, but this is not the method we are using. The method I am going to use is that I'm just going to reference Bootstrap directly on the page. So I'm going to go on and go to bootstrap.com and then go to the documentation. So here I'm going to go to download here, download. Under the download, I will see how I can reference Bootstrap directly online. So I don't need to start doing the npm install or something, React Bootstrap. You can't, this particular one, you can't use this to add it to your React. This will not work with your React, except if you are now adding it, referencing it manually by yourself. So here I'm going to copy this. Now, I mentioned something the other time that everything on our page gets rendered inside this index.html. This is the final page where everything gets rendered. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to paste the reference in the head. You can see the head, HTML starts from here and ends here, meaning that all our content are showing inside this div ID of root. If we want to confirm that, we can inspect our page by coming here, go to inspect, and then you can see div ID root. Everything is displaying inside that. You can see div ID root, and that's where we have our div class app, and then we have what? We have the header that says welcome to my app. The button is showing. You can see how it brings everything together using that particular index.html, and that is why that is the place, that's the final render of our page, and that's the place where I'm going to put the Bootstrap reference. That's it. I'm going to put the Bootstrap reference here. So this is the Bootstrap reference, and then when you are referencing Bootstrap, is in two ways. You're going to reference the one at the header and the other one at the footer. So I'm going to go on there and include this at the footer part of the page. So at the down bottom there, before the closing of the body, just like we have it on our normal HTML and CSS. Alright, so now that we have that, then if I go to my page and reload that, at least by now, you should notice some things would have changed. You can see my button now showing me that Bootstrap is working, but we may not see it clearly at this point. So how do we go about it? So let me go on to my app.js right here. This one that says div class app, I'm going to remove this and change it to be container. Once we do this, let's check our page now. You can see it has moved the thing to a boxed. You can see if we use container fluid, it will go back. So that shows that our application is working. If I want to use a Bootstrap button now, I can just go ahead to my button and say the class name right here, rather than using BCGL that we created in our app.css. I'm just going to say btn primary, and this should give me a React Bootstrap button. Look at it, very cool. Alright, that is it. So in this case, I'm not going to use this to create a portfolio application. That should be in our next lesson. Thank you very much.